Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to the 17th edition of the Chlorophyll podcast. As we said, we started them in 2025 to celebrate our 25th anniversary, but by popular demand, as it were, we continue with those podcasts. So today we have the most celebrated corporate leader in PR with us, Madan Bahal, exceptional person. In 2018, he was voted Communicator of the Decade by PR Council of India. And just when you thought that was the highest accolade he could win, in 2022, he was inducted in the Arthur Page Hall of Fame, probably the only non-American, non-European person to be there. The one that really gives me greatest joy is that he's on the governing council of the oldest yoga institute in the world. Just let me get that right. Yoga Institute in Santa Cruz. He is co-founder of Adfactors Advertising, Adfactors PR, and of course, Chlorophyll. So if you detect a note of quiet admiration, please remember that he has been my mentor and friend since 1991. Welcome, Madan. And
Thank
let
you.
me get down straight to, like they do in PR, news first. So let's do the news first. In the calendar year 2025, after of the 100 odd IPOs in India, Adfactors accounted for no less than 50% by volume and 70% by value. How do you prepare? How does a giant like Adfactors prepare for this sudden influx? Or if it wasn't sudden and if you knew it, then tell the audience how you prepared for it. And before you do that, to everybody who's on the show, please keep your questions ready as we speak. And towards the end of the show, we will have a full 10-15 minutes for your questions. So put them into the comment section and we'll take them one by one. So, Madan, how did you prepare? How does Adfactors prepare? What is the secret of? Is there proaction? How do you do this?
I think you have to start with a simple note of gratitude uh, to ecosystem and to a society that nurtures you and gives you the privilege to be in that place.
Yes,
Uh,
certainly.
your own efforts are, I think, less important. The collective acceptance, that license to operate, so to say,
Yeah,
uh, comes from whether they were the issuers or the companies that put their trust in us, whether the large number of investment bankers that endorsed, or the law firms, or the large number of people who are independent board directors or people in the media. Adfactors today is, in general, and with the IPO ecosystem in particular, uh, a beneficiary of this goodwill uh, and support that one might say we
correct.
enjoy.
Got it.
Of course, that comes from that acceptance come from a number of reasons, and one of them would be how do you always be ready to respond. See, when you have that kind of support, it becomes a responsibility.
Nice.
When
Nice.
when an ecosystem of a nation says that you will, for 30 years in a row, 35 years in a row, year
Wow.
after year, be entrusted with 70% of fundraising in the country by
Wow.
volume of funds raised, or sometimes more,
That's billions.
then you have to be ready and accountable to live up to that trust. And if you have to be then ready, then proactivity is a natural thing.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
have to be proactive for scale, and often the writing is on the wall that what may happen in the next 1 year, 2 years, given India's economic reform process, given the policy, supportive policy, regulatory ecosystem, given the huge tsunami of entrepreneurship, the migration of crores of people putting their trust in the capital market with their investments, the equity, sorry, the IPO culture going to even family businesses who even have 100 crores of business annual revenue, thinking of that. In this vast movement that is happening, if you are playing a small role, uh, then you have to be responsible and be preparing for it. Whether it is
Wonderful.
scale is easy to manage. You say that okay, we if we did last year 20 IPOs and we would have some 60 IPOs in this financial year or 70, and it is likely that we may have 100 next year, then you can prepare for it. You a wise company will put people, leadership, structure, process to see that if the influx comes, we don't get bogged down or burdened and drop a ball. Because in the IPO kind of regulated work, there is no room for failure. You have to do
Beautiful.
it right. You have to do it on time, every time. And therefore, it is the preparation on a whole lot of things. Scale is only one of them. You have to be mindful of, uh, along with scale, relevance, for example. The whole world is changing. The capital market have changed. The media ecosystem has changed. The influence dynamics that influence the outcomes of an IPO or capital market transactions, that has changed dramatically. So you have to be also be proactive for the changing dynamics uh, of the media markets, regulatory ecosystems, and you have to be proactive there as well. So you have to continuously look a little ahead, as much as you can see, plan a little ahead. Therefore, the word proactive comes in. But then there are learnings that happen.
Hmm.
Every episode teaches you something. It,
Beautiful.
it has something unique, something which required a customs custom solution, even within the guardrails.
Yes. Yes.
And those learnings have to be then put back into the feedback loop so that when we do it the next time, we do it even better. So, in these 35 years that I'm talking about, we became a market leader by volume of funds mobilized, going by the Prime database, which tracks these things. Um, the kind of projects that were entrusted to us, whether it was the Konkan Railway, which was not an equity offer, it was a tax-free bond offer, or the IDBI equity offer way back in '93, or the Resurgent India bonds in whether it's in
SBI.
'97 or '99, and hundreds of other large transactions. Entire industries, banking, for example, every single banking IPO or FPO, or almost every single, were entrusted to Adfactors. Media IPOs, media knows, banks know where what will serve them better. That trust that we have enjoyed is overwhelming, and out of that comes the responsibility to stay relevant and to keep trying.
Brilliant. So that leads me to the second question, Madan, because that is also very relevant to how Adfactors has grown. Uh, we have done, Chlorophyll has done 475 brands, 475 plus brands, but you are the only one that has used chlorophyll to define and redefine Adfactors. And every single time you insisted that we follow our full process, not once but thrice. So after every inflection point, after the Y2K, after the crash of 2008, and now recently after AI, you have made us redefine at factors to get relevant to the market at a qualitative level. We are not talking about IPO. And currently, we have reached what you have been calling is reputation and critical issues management. What is that? What is this? What is this opportunity explosion? What is the exponential opportunity? What is the pitfall? Where have just enlighten us about this qualitative shift in what you wish to do?
I think what we did as the last iteration of that change that you referred to probably was put in effect on the 5th of September 2024, a year ahead. But the, the situation that warranted it, I think, had its root in the pandemic. And
Right.
every year after the pandemic, 2020 was for humanity at large and business at large, a very different year. 2021 was different, 2022 was different, and 2023 onwards, at least from the context of my industry, um, has been very different year. Of course, the effects of that are being shown everywhere. But recently, I made a presentation to our global body of PR firms. I mean, all the
Wow.
PR firms have national associations. The national associations then constitute or create a global association called ECO. ECO recently had, as a coincidence, its summit in Mumbai, annual summit. And I was speaking there. And among other things that I said, I showed them a series of some 20 chronological headlines in the trade media,
About PR.
starting about public relations as an industry, but globally.
Right.
And what was great going until the pandemic, and then 21 after the pandemic was a bounce back year for everybody. 23 suddenly in early May, the words like secret slowdown, agencies have to fight, prices are going down, etc., started appearing. And since then, almost every quarter, the headlines in the trade media, whether it is Provoke Media or PR Week or O'Dwyer's report or other national level things, things really started reflecting the stress that the industry was going through. When we fast forward it to November of 25, two headlines stand out. One said, "The glory days of PR are over."
My
I
God.
think it was in a publication called O'Dwyer's. And another one which was based on a report which a law firm in the US does every year to figure out how the year went by and what is the outlook for the year ahead. That report said only 4% people or agency heads are optimistic about the year ahead. Now, this 4%
Scary.
is down from probably 70% or something 3 years ago.
Very scary.
So it is a scary situation. Of course, the effects of that, I'm not going into the specific headlines and who did they, it referred to the IPG group or their PR portfolio. It referred to Omnicom, it referred to WPP Group's PR portfolio or the group companies. It referred to the largest firms in the business globally. But all in all, it said that things are not the same. Then, of
Hmm.
course, at a larger level in advertising and social and everything that you take, we see what happened to IPG being consumed by uh, Omnicom. And suddenly, some of the very finest institutions that we have seen around the world, including in India, vanish
Yeah.
or getting consumed in that thing.
Evaporated. Evaporated. Yeah.
So, this, I would think that for the communications industry at large, and including the PR industry, this is a code red moment or a code red
Mm.
situation. It's a very serious kind of emergency that we are all coming to grips with, and therefore it's somewhat scary. There is a little struggle, but what intrigues me is not this much. That is well known that the world has changed. What intrigues me is that the complexity has increased dramatically. But the paradox is, while complexity has increased, why is business contracting? Why is the
Hmm.
PR industry stagnant or not growing? That is a
Mystery.
you will you say that is there a single company that doesn't have a reputational challenge uh, already? I mean, there's a backlog of that, or something that is happening or unfolding today that is becoming a reputational issue with any stakeholder group or all stakeholders. Is there any company which is confident that they won't have a reputational challenge tomorrow? I would say there is simply none.
Correct. Correct.
Correct? Is there any company which doesn't have a policy problem? There is simply none. Is there any company which cannot get caught in a regulatory hurdle or a capital market issue, or won't have a whistleblower, or won't have hundred other risks, whether
Yes.
coming from geopolitics, whether coming from climate risk, whether coming from what is happening in the US, whether coming from many other situations. If all of that is true, technically, at least the PR business should be doing quite well, because we
Hmm.
are supposed to help organizations navigate such complexities. Then why are we not growing? Why are we not able to hold up? Of course, there are some companies who will do well, but these are the kind of things that warrant continuous rethinking. How do we stay relevant? What do we do? It's not about a positioning in terms of a new symbol or a new
Correct. Absolutely.
line that describes you. It is about organizational change, product change, value proposition change, change in the ways we do business. And these are the things that warrant the kind of things that you mentioned, that Adfactors repositioned itself last year as a reputation and critical issues advisory.
Yeah.
Now that is easier, but the actual change, Kiran, is not easy.
Yes.
Behaviors are fairly hardwired, and the higher up you go in the hierarchy, the more the hardwiring.
Hmm.
People within organizations are used to known templates, known behaviors, and change is
Absolutely.
always a risky thing, scary thing. So we are all trying our best, and yet I think the pace of change in these directions is slower than what we would expect. I only think that finally the survival instinct takes over, and everybody at an individual level or a team level or a company level or an industry level has to survive, and the
Hmm.
market forces and the complexity will drive us all and push us all to do better and stay relevant. But in the
Hmm.
context of the question that you asked, it is this need to keep improvising to respond to a changing world, to a changing times,
Yes.
that
Yes.
this positioning changes happened.
Yeah. It's beautiful. So this again, the other from the brand point of view, we always say that it's very easy to manage a product brand, but when you talk about a professional services brand, a consulting brand, to create that scale is very difficult. You already, I think you've crossed 600, 700 crores. There are thousands of people in uh, at factors working. What is the secret sauce? How have you managed? Is the word human engineering? Is the word anything else? How do have you managed to grow this as a professional services brand, which is very difficult? I do not know any other company in India which has managed to do this. What is the secret sauce?
I think we can complicate it by using language of strategy and language of
Yeah.
management, or we can simplify it. And the simplification is that you do the logical things in
Okay.
time. You I mean, the world has changed to a point where oceanic navigation, earlier you had to go from Mumbai to Dubai
Yeah.
or London, you put the compass and the ship would go reach there. There was one straight line,
Hmm.
unless you are avoiding a small storm or some problem somewhere. We are now come to river navigation. We only know
Beautiful.
only this far and only that much we can see. Only when we get around that bend, we realized that, well, we were going in a particular way. Now there is a waterfall, or a, or a, or a rapid, or a shallow water, or a rock, or something or the other. And in that time window, you have to try your best to steer your boat in such a way that you land safely.
Mm.
And therefore, this requires a culture of continuous, you might say, simply learning and development. You
Mm.
have to continuously learn, continuously develop. And
Adaptability.
while it is easier said, it's actually difficult to do. And therefore, you have to institutionalize this into rituals, into certain value systems, into certain behaviors. And therefore, we have in this firm at least a number of such very unique things which I think are unique in the world, if probably unique definitely in the PR ecosystem globally, but maybe unique anywhere, where there is a process like the power of one, which says you thou shall deliver these 10 things to the client every month. Or
Wow.
there's a thing called a team decathlon. We will follow these 10 things every month and then submit, so that we see that consistency of behavior across the scale.
Entire team. Yeah.
Correct. We will. There are many things, and I don't want to go into the details of those. But one of the things will be, has every single member in each of the 100 teams that service clients, has there been a learning and development every some learning program every month?
Wow.
So every single month, 1,000 people in Adfactors learn something new formally or informally.
You have the biggest percentage budget for learning and development, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is quite a bit. In simple terms, it is larger than the profit of the next PR firm in India. So unless you keep investing, unless you keep uh, keep at it, there is
Mm.
no hope that we will stay relevant, even in a 2, 3, 4 year window. We now have the academy run by a very fine professional called Hemant Wale. That academy is looking not only of the needs now, and they're classified needs in two three different buckets, but they have a thing called the class of 2038. If an
Wow.
organization has to stay independent like us, if it has to stay relevant, if it has to uh, keep having succession ideas across multiple levels of leadership, then you have to plan long. It has to be long range planning for people and leadership.
Mm.
So this class of 2038, for example, is preparing leaders, mid-level leaders, to be better every year and to stay relevant every year for a long time to come. Now, in that process, they will go to IMM, some IM, some ISB. They will do some risk courses, markets courses. They will do everything that we think is necessary, or they think is necessary. Do this. So I think many things of this kind have to go into to stay ahead of the curve, and to stay relevant. And you have to stay relevant only to fulfill the responsibilities you have to your clients,
Yes. Correct. Correct.
because they look up to you. And to the
Correct.
people, 14, 1,300 people in a world that is full of anxiety of what
Mm.
happens tomorrow, in a post chat GPT, post Gemini, post nano banana world, that responsibility of keeping them relevant is on the organization and on them to stay relevant. I think it's a
Fantastic.
collective effort that is going in to achieve this.
Mm. So that word collective effort, if I was to use a heuristic, uh, they say culture eats strategy for breakfast. And there is something very unique about the culture that has evolved that you seeded um, 34 years ago. You have often used the word corporate spirituality. Is that what defines the culture? Is there something else? Is there a process for that culture? Because every time you have prepared art factors for the future, you have invested in people, systems, and processes. You have made every single one digitally armed. Every single Adfactors person had to undergo digital training. Every single person now is undergoing AI training. For culture, what is it? Is it, where does this entire notion of corporate spirituality spring from?
I think it's a difficult one to answer, but I'll try. I think the spiritual aspect of the ideas that we borrow come from our society.
Hmm.
Notions like, uh, you know, uh, as Indians, we have a perpetual view of the world. We have a
Yes,
city like Varanasi that has been smashed down, that has lived in continuity for 5,000 years, been
correct.
smashed down multiple times, has sprung up multiple times. In the last 2 3 days, we have seen Somnath as a
Yes,
spirit, as a symbol of Indian spirituality, and you might say
Renaissance.
strength and character. Smashed 6 times from Ghazni to Gori and others, and 6 times itself it has stood up again to represent that spirit of perpetuity and continuity. It is these values that hold it together. It is these ideas of Sanatan. It is these ideas of what you might call um, Vasudevai Kutumba. It
Vasudhaiva
is this
Kutumbakam.
idea of Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. These kind of values define it. Adfactors is also a very small microcosm of this universe,
Beautiful.
and therefore it is also inspired by these things that we have to look after our stakeholders. We have to protect them, whether it is a client or it's the people working inside. For example, in the global economic downturn, or in the it's a historical fact, or in the year of the pandemic, Adfactors stood up publicly and said we will not have one single person lose a job. Nobody lost job.
Wow.
Nobody even lost income. That strength of character comes from this culture. Of course, this culture then has to be translated into rituals, into simple processes, into simple behaviors. And then one has to keep a eye that these are practiced all the time.
Hmm.
That responsibilities goes back to the leadership to make sure that this continuity of practice, it's like much like the the Muslim priest goes up in a masjid and speaks 5 times the prayer.
Yes.
That consistency over hundreds and hundreds of years is what creates strong foundations. Similarly, in the corporate world, you have to do that. Of course, the spirituality aspect has other dimensions, and
Yes.
that is, what does this society expect of you as a good behavior? What may it not like? And we'll say, well, we think we should not work for alcohol uh, because society will not like it. So we don't work for alcohol.
Wow.
Our business is engaged in alcohol. We think tobacco is bad, so we won't work for tobacco. We think uh, in the yamas and niyamas of our culture, non-violence is a very important, is the first yama.
Right. Right.
And we'll say, well, we will not work for businesses engaged in meat processing, or for that matter, gambling. We have even added other product categories to the not to do list. So when you have so much clarity about what not to do, including, for example, not saving tax, we have a policy
Hmm.
of not saving tax.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And when you therefore follow these kind of tenets of business, the word klesha in Indian philosophy is an important word.
Yes.
Therefore, the more you practice the don'ts and the do's, the less kleshas you have. And
Correct.
as in a human being's life, so in the corporate life, you have less corporate kleshas. So you always
Beautiful.
do the right thing. And that, I think, is corporate spirituality in practice.
Yeah. Yeah. You get to sleep peacefully at night
Yes.
without questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Madan, let's open it for questions. Are there any questions from the audience? Let's see. Can you give us a few examples of behaviors that have been institutionalized at Adfactors?
Yes, there are not one or two. There are many things. For example, uh, every person, every team has to learn something new. It may be a Udemy course. It may be a course at a portal. It may be a book learning session. They have to document it and record it that they did it. Every team has to do a um, client meeting that looks at the background, that discusses the business as usual, and that discusses some recommendations for the future. Every person has to do on a monthly basis a risk analysis of what risks might result into reputational challenges for a client. Every team has to do a daily meeting. um, every team has to practice or implement artificial intelligence now in their work. And these are not just slogans. These are practiced, monitored, and feedback given on a monthly basis. So if
Wow.
you have to have 700 clients and deliver a consistent product or a consistent value proposition, of course human beings make a difference. uh, then some of these things are very critical. And to give you, these are some of the examples that we practice in. There are a couple of other things when I bring in spirituality aspect of how do you create good people, create good leaders. We have a individual level decathlon also,
Okay.
where an account executive or a manager has to put in 10 things. One of the things, two things stand out in those, other than the academic things or other than the professional things. The account executive has to go to the gym or the yoga class 15 days in a week and submit a certificate or walk 10,000 steps. So there is a little aspect of health brought in. Or the account manager is asked, have you done something that enhanced or looked after the health of your parents?
How
Did you
beautiful.
do an act of selfless service? So we have a very rounded view of, and these things are practiced again and again and again and again, and that's how they get institutionalized in practice.
Hmm. When we are so engrossed in finishing our current tasks, how do we make sure to glance at the future once in a while, especially when it has become like navigating a river? Do you assign time separately or does it become part of your metabolism?
I think you have to be now mindful and aware that if you don't do this, chances are you'll have a shipwreck or a boat wreck around the bend. And therefore, a simple thing like should a public relations professional be reading what's happening in the current environment on a day to day basis that may have a bearing on the client organization? If you don't take out 45 minutes or half an hour of everyday life, including a Saturday and a Sunday, to read not just the economic times or the business paper that you're reading as a part of the job to track the news of your clients, but to generally study what is happening in the world that has a bearing on the client. Also, what is happening in the world of management, what is happening in the world of public relations, and what can you learn out of that? Then I think you're not doing your job itself. And therefore,
Mm.
these things have to be now integrated into the daily life. It is not a luxury anymore. It is a necessity. It's actually a KRA
So practiced every day. Madan, tell us
every day.
about, yeah, um, how will the next Vikram, his old friend, a couple of years look like? Large consultancies, mid-sized, smaller firms. Will the future be same or differ for each segment? Is there a is the future segment agnostic or it has different rules for each segment?
No, I think the larger agencies have different kind of challenges because they cater to a more mature segment of the market
Mm-hmm.
whose demands are far more complex. Whereas the smaller agencies and many new startups are coming up, will come up. There are a few hundreds of them in India itself. They are catering to, let's say, an emerging, a fast growing but emerging segment of the market, which is an early stage user of public relations or a first time user of public relations or a marginal user of public relations. I think
Right.
those challenges will be different. So you will see a little higher growth at the lower end of the market. As you go to the mid market, maybe the problems are a little more than the larger agency and the smaller agency. Mid market will find it a little more difficult. The large have the everybody will have challenges, but in terms of growth, the smaller agencies have a chance of doing better in terms
Oh,
of percentage growth rates.
okay, okay. In an industry driven by pressure and frequent crises, what makes it hardest to keep the team's desire to learn? How do you keep that desire to learn alive?
Survival, you won't be around in the next year or 2 years or 3 years. You won't have a job, and if you get a job, you'll not get a half the salary. So, for your own benefit and your own survival, one should do it, and the
Yeah.
teams will do it, and organizations will do it. It is not a luxury anymore. I think that survival instinct should drive it.
Mm. Madan, you shared one very scary statistic with me some months ago that you end up uh, interviewing hundreds of fresh candidates or mid-level candidates, and there is a particular question to which 99% of them said, "No, I haven't done it." Just let everybody know that question.
Yeah, it reflects the malaise, or it reflects the state of the current situation. The question that I ask among two three other standard questions is: have you read a single book on public relations since you joined public relations? And the people I interview are normally now 5 years, 6 years into minimum into the profession. I've stopped interviewing account executives last 1 year because just the number of things that one has to do, or
Right.
senior people. And it is such an interesting thing. 99% of people haven't read a single book on public relations since they joined public relations.
Astounding.
Correct? And if some of them say, yeah, I had read one book, then you ask the author's name, they don't know. What was in that book, they don't know. What are the simple theory in that book, they don't know. So so this situation in the PR industry needs to be corrected. And I think everybody should do it from a sense of personal responsibility to themselves and to their clients and to their organizations.
And to the industry, yeah. Yeah. How do you inspire teams to think differently, especially the business language for clients?
I think
Good.
one has to then go down to the definition of professional services itself.
Okay, interesting.
Every the age of the templatized work or a process driven work is over. Every client has a unique problem. There will be some business as usual, there will be some announcements to make and some routine things to do. But at a strategic level, every client will have a unique problem. And the definition of professional services, including PR, is to develop customized solutions to address unique problems.
Mm.
The problem is unique, and the solution therefore has to be customized. To this extent,
And
the rule book is common, but the problem, the quest or the research or the diagnostic to identify that unique problem in consultation with the client and working collaboratively with teams inside to develop a solution. These are the new behaviors everybody will have to practice. So I
mm.
don't know if I answered the question, but this is how I see the future of the PR practice from a single tactical reactive media relations, which we were very good at, and I take pride in the fact that Adfactors was very good at it. We have to now migrate to addressing strategic issues or complexities the client organization is facing. It may not happen overnight, but every single day Every single day we have to push forward to live up to these expectations.
Mm, fantastic. Right, Madan, we have taken a lot of time. I normally end up by thanking the person who's on the call. So, in your case, I will make an exception because I can't thank you enough. Not only have you changed the arc of my career since 1999 by becoming my co founder of Chlorophyll, you have continuously enriched my life in multiple ways. So, again, thank you very much. In public, we have talked about this in private, and it has been one of our most engaging talks. Thank you, audience, for your what we call perspicacious questions, and we look forward to meeting you again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiran, and I won't let the world know what you have done for me, so we'll keep that a secret.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye bye.